Hello, it's Tracy Duhs here. I got the opportunity of being interviewed by Chewning today on Everforward Radio. And today we talked a lot about health and the opportunities that we have to improve our bodies to the optimal potential that we deserve. And there's no limits. And we talk about the science, we talk about the esoteric value behind it, the spiritual, but we bring it all together to make it practical, applicable, and I hope fun too. So you're going to hear my story. You're going to hear some things that I went through to get to this point and to learn how to live your best life and come alive again. If you want to come alive, listen to the show. You're listening to Everforward Radio.
Tracy, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me to your
course.
house.
Yeah. I got to say, like, the color is amazing. We got, like, all these plain black and white going on, and then it's just Tracy.
I got to show up with a bang.
When you show up, you got to, when I go out, I got to show out. I'm trying to find, like, a pertinent, I don't know. I can't keep up with the kids these days. What is it? Every time I go out, I got to show out. Pretty sure that's a thing. I feel like that's you right now. Like, you're going out, you're showing out.
I got to show out. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And that was the quickest derailment of any intro ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tracy Duhs, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's about time.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
This has been we've been trying to plan this for a couple months, huh?
Took a minute. But here we are, and we're just kind of catching up. I've had a chance to really hear your story bit by bit, and the thing that blew me away the most was like the Roanoke correlation. No one ever knows anything about Roanoke, Virginia, where I'm from.
No one's ever even heard the name, huh?
And then you're like, yeah, and then I was doing some stuff, working this company in Roanoke. I was like, whoa, Roanoke, Virginia? No one ever knows Roanoke. But I love your story. You've gone through a lot personally, professionally, to get you to where you are here today. We're going to get to the main components of what you practice, what you preach, and how you help other people just live an optimized life with your 9 pillars. But walk us through, how did you finally get to, this is my fulfillment, this is my calling? Because it's not easy when we're looking for the right certification, the right degree, the right internship. How did you get to where you are today? And be able to act out of such fulfillment?
That's a great question, because I do feel very fulfilled, and I feel like I'm in a spot right now where I'm at my sweet spot. I love what I do. Well, it started out when I was really young. I think a lot of us work to feel enough sometimes. We feel like there's something that we need to do to be enough. And for some reason, when I was younger, I just remember that I loved to help people. I didn't like to see people sick or suffering, and my heart just really, it was just tender towards that. And I also thought, hey, I want to choose the hardest profession just so I can prove to myself that I can do that. So, when I was a little kid,
said every teenager ever, right?
Yeah. When I was a little kid, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll be a doctor then, because then I can help people and I can do the hardest thing, in academia that there is. So, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I thought when I was a child.
It's definitely up there.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
So I said, I set out and said, I want to be a doctor. So I graduated high school when I was 15 and a half, and I started college. And
at 15 and a half.
At 15 and a half.
Like, don't just glance over that. I hope everybody caught that.
My dad had to drive me to college.
At 15 and a half.
My dad had to drive me there. People would make fun of me. They were like, your dad's picking you up from college in his minivan, his white minivan. I was like, yep.
That's impressive. Wow.
Yeah, so he used to pick me up, and yeah, I remember I had to go to the dean of the school because I was like, I want to get this done as soon as possible. So I took 21 science units, just starting out with 21 units, and the dean approved it. I got way in over my head, you know, but I made it through, and I was on the dean's list the first year. I got on the dean's list with that, and it was definitely stressful. I put myself under a lot of stress. But that summer, my father said, hey, there's this opportunity for you to go to Guatemala if you would like, because there's a doctor that's donated his time for a year in this indigenous village, and you can go help him. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Now I look back and I think, oh my goodness, like I wouldn't let my kids go at 15 and a half to
how did my dad let me go to that?
To Guatemala. Yeah. I mean, if you would have seen where I was, it wasn't like I was in Antigua, the main, city. I was literally, we used to have to take this bus up this mountain for an hour and a half just to get up there. And when you got there, it was like going back in time. The people wove their own clothing, their houses they'd made themselves,
completely self-sustainable.
Everything.
Wow.
And that was my first peek into understanding how important clean water is. Because the people there were dying daily. There were people dying because they didn't have access to clean water.
This is where everybody needs to pay attention. This is some foreshadowing for how we're going to get to your fulfillment and area specialty. Yes. Remember that water comment.
Yeah, the water. So that was a big deal, seeing that people had to walk 5 miles a day to pick up a spigot of water every day to wash their clothes, bathe in, and drink. And that was like really eye-opening, because when you're 15 and a half, that's not really something you think about, right? You turn the faucet on at home and you think there's always going to be water there for you, but to watch people suffer without it was extremely eye-opening. So it was really fun, actually, shadowing that doctor, because also, how many times do we get an opportunity to do a vocational job? We think, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, and you go to all this schooling, and then you actually get into it and realize, maybe I don't want to do that. So
my undergrad, I thought for sure I wanted to go into corporate wellness. I did one internship in corporate wellness, absolutely hated it. I was like, I now know what I don't want to do. Thank you for that experience.
That's why they make us do internships, but usually the internship doesn't come till like, what, the third or fourth year?
Or like, you're already too late.
It's too late.
Well, shit, what if I don't like any of this?
Yeah, you're so deep in it.
I don't get to experience it,
Exactly. So that was such an amazing opportunity to have that my very first year of pre-med, to be able to go, okay, experience it to the fullest. So I actually got to participate in surgery, giving vaccinations, teaching about healthcare. Just every single day we got to see 19 patients a day.
In there.
In the clinic. I was in it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was this tiny little clinic. The only doctor that anybody could see for miles and miles around. I remember, to give you an example of what it was like, this man had brought his daughter on a donkey, his 5-year-old daughter, and they had walked for 2 days to get to see this doctor. I mean, it was intense. Like, this is like heartburst stuff, She was 5 years old, and she had fallen and scraped her knee, and they knew nothing about sanitation, keeping things clean, and so it had turned gangrene, the leg, and it needed to be amputated. 5-year-old. It was just like, and the dad, he didn't know what to do. So he heard that there was this doctor that had donated his time. And so he put his daughter on the donkey and walked her for 2 days to get to this.
Just on a hope.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those were the kind of people we were seeing. And yeah, it was the most intense experience. I came home a different person, to say the least.
Sure, yeah.
But when I came home, I also realized, gosh, I really, really want to help people. And I love the challenge of having to go to med school and learn about all this science. And I'm a science nerd. I've always loved science. But I also thought, gosh, do I really want to cut people open? Because it just didn't resonate with me. Cutting people open, giving them shots. I wanted to help in another way. So I ended up spending the next 3 years in pre-med. And my last year, my best friend was like, she was in pre-med too, and she was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to become a businesswoman. I'm going to switch my degree. And I was
that's a total 180.
Total 180. And at that time, I was working in venture capital because I'd gotten offered a job when I was 17 to work in venture capital. And I was like, yeah, I'm enjoying this too. Maybe I'll switch.
Just doing all the things.
So we switched together.
Were you a serial entrepreneur before Instagram made it cool?
Oh, yeah, definitely a serial entrepreneur. I think I had my first business when I was 9. I hired all the kids.
Like a true entrepreneur.
Yeah, I hired all the neighbor kids to work for me. Like I was the broker of their jobs.
Susie, you mow lawn 1 through 5. Johnny, you got the lemonade stand.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what it was.
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
okay, you're going to be babysitting, and then I'd just take a commission of all their jobs. But
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. It was really my brother's idea, and I stole the idea from him. I'm an activator, so he will forever be.
Don't sleep on ideas around Tracy. That's for
no,
sure.
he had the idea, and I was like, "That's a great idea," and I just ran with it. You know, don't tell an activator your idea, or they might take it from you. But yeah, so I was a serial entrepreneur. But anyways, I did the venture capital. That was really fun. And then from that, I thought, gosh, I think I was modeling at the same time too. I was getting modeling jobs and doing the venture capital. And I didn't like the way the modeling industry was treating the girls, because a lot of the young girls were sleeping with the photographers to get better jobs or keep the job, or
I can only imagine
whatever was going on. And, it was kind of like, wow. I remember telling my friends, you don't have to do that. You can still get good jobs without having to take your clothes off. And it's like,
novel
really?
idea.
You can? Yeah. So I remember telling the girls that, and then thinking, man, I could start my own agency. So I started my own modeling agency and started hiring my friends. And
how old were you here?
I think it was 18. Yeah. So I started the modeling agency, and, we were getting a bunch of jobs. And then I realized that a lot of the girls had eating disorders. I mean, it was really eye-opening seeing, how the industry really pushed you to weigh a certain amount. They'd measure you at that time. Yeah. I mean, this is like during the time of like Kate Moss and, where you had to be rail thin in order to be looked at. So a lot of girls weren't eating, taking diuretics, and a lot of unhealthy things. So I said, hey, how about I start an agency where I can teach the girls about healthy eating? And I mean, I didn't know a lot, but I just knew what I was doing was working for me, because I grew up in a home where my mom cooked us beans and rice and salad every day. I mean, I kind of grew up on that. We didn't have enough money to eat the Frankenfoods, because those are like more expensive. The box cereals and all that stuff. I mean, we were missionaries, so the beans and rice was what we had. So I would tell my friends, just eat some vegetables and some beans and rice and some fruit.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
That's all you have to do.
Health.
Go for a run. I was also on the cross country team at school. So I was like, yeah, we can go for a run, just simple things. I didn't really know a lot, but it seemed to help. It was helping them, because they started to realize, hey, if I don't starve myself and I actually eat healthy, I eat whole foods, I'm going to feel fuller, and my body's going to work for me, not against me. So it felt fulfilling to be able to, with the limited amount of knowledge I had at that time, to be able to share it and to see it help others. So that was kind of my first dabble into health and wellness. And when I was 21, I met the man that I ended up marrying. And by the time I was 22, we ended up getting married, and it was quick. Everything was quick. I ended up having a baby really fast, and then 12 months later having another baby. It's like,
what don't you do at like 1,000 miles an hour?
Yeah, everything in my life happened fast. So when my baby was 3.5 months old, I got pregnant for my second baby. I remember holding her in my arms and going, this is not real. Like, I'm not pregnant again. And
your husband's probably like, I got a really healthy model venture capitalist. Like, I'm just going to wife her up and keep the babies flowing.
The baby mill. Yeah, I could have just kept going, man. He just looked at me and I got pregnant. I mean, it was like those Mexican genes, man. They're just very fertile.
Mira. mira.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. That was it. Through osmosis, it was just happening. I mean, it was pretty cool. But yeah, but interestingly enough, my first daughter, when she was 2, she was vaccine injured, and it ended up that she had a high amount of mercury in her system, the thimerosal that they preserve the immunizations with. Her body wasn't able to methylate it properly, and she was holding it in her tissue, and she had high amounts of mercury in her system.
Is that something that's fairly common with people, and just your daughter, her body couldn't kind of process it, filter it, metabolize it in a way, or was this like a unique case?
Well, everyone's different, right? Yeah. She was born preemie, so that already had the cards stacked against her, because when you're getting immunizations when you're a preemie, you really, like, your immune system isn't activated yet.
It's not building its own. It's dependent on external kind of what's the word I'm looking for? External influence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, she was, poor thing. I mean, she was just so tiny, and, her body wasn't ready for that. And her body wasn't able to get rid of it. Our bodies know what to do. Our cells have innate intelligence. They know how to get rid of toxins, but sometimes there's obstacles that are in the way that are impeding that. And unfortunately, she had some cards stacked up against her with being a preemie. So when she was 2, I was brushing her hair, and, she looked like little Snow White. She had these red lips and this dark hair and this light skin, and I was brushing it, and the whole, like, the right side of her head, there must have been like 1.5-inch radius of circular patch that had fallen out. Oh, no. And it was almost overnight that this had happened. And I mean, I only noticed it that day, and I thought,
you're her mom. You noticed everything.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, how did this happen? But I was so young, I had no idea. So I took her to Kaiser, and the doctor looked me in the eyes, and he said, I think you're putting her hair ties in too tight. And I said, oh no, we are getting a full blood panel on this child. I am not putting her hair ties in too tight. Something is wrong. And it was really frustrating at that time, because I don't know how many doctors I took her to. It kept escalating. Okay, you have to go here. Now you have to go to the dermatologist. Now you got to go see the head of dermatology. Now you need to go see this lady because she's a specialist in alopecia. This is what we think it is. And we just kept going to doctor after doctor. But the doctors that we would see, they would, like, almost turn sheet white, and their eyes would bug out. Like, they had no idea what it was. They didn't even bring out their textbook.
Which is great when you walk into the doctor's office and, like, I don't freaking know. Let me go get a bunch of people and let's just stare at you.
Yeah. One doctor was taking pictures of her. His face was red, like his cheeks were flushed. He didn't know what it was. He's taking pictures of her, like, I don't know. We're going to have her see someone else. And how old is she now? She's 14. So that was a while ago. Now people are much more aware of what alopecia is and autoimmune, but that wasn't something that people knew about as common. It wasn't as common back then. So it was scary, to say the least. Like, something's going on with your child, but no one can tell you what it is.
The experts, right? The quote-unquote experts who are supposed to have these answers to our health were kind of empty-handed.
Yeah, they weren't giving us any hope. Yeah. So we kept going and escalating to the doctors, and then finally, I would say maybe it was six months after, because, when you're in the system with Kaiser, it's like you got to wait, and then you see the next doctor. It must have been about 6 months. By then, her hair had all fallen out. Jeez. And we got to finally see the alopecia expert. We're like, okay, we need to go see this lady so she can tell us what to do. She looked at my daughter's nails and could tell they were pitted, and obviously she had no hair, and she just looked at us and said, yep, classic case of alopecia. I'm like, okay, anything we should know? Yeah, and exactly. It was that, like, and moment. Yeah. She's like, I'm going to give you a video and a website you can go to, NAAF, NAF. It's an organization where they help support people that have alopecia, and it's a support group. And I said, okay, well, is this something that she's going to have to live with forever? She said, yeah, she'll have it forever. Goodbye.
That'll be thousands of dollars.
Yeah. I was
we'll take insurance at the checkout.
Oh, I remember walking out of there just sobbing, I felt like I had no hope.
Can't imagine.
What, this is it? We waited so long to be told something we already know, that you have no hair, but there's nothing we can do about it except maybe give her steroid shots, cortisone shots. I mean, they didn't really have a lot of options back then.
So what did you do?
So my ex-husband, he's like, don't cry. She's going to see you cry. And I'm trying to hold back the tears. And I got home and I remember I just said to him, no is never an answer. This is not the answer. I will die if I have to, fighting to find out what we need to do to get her better. And not only get her better, but find out why this happened to her.
Everything I've heard so far in your story, like that's the strong theme is I'm not accepting this. Yeah. I'm not accepting this for my family, for my daughter. I'm not accepting this in the modeling industry. I'm not accepting this as someone else's curriculum of how I need to go through high school and college. Like, right. I'm not accepting this. Like, I'm not
accepting 4 years of high school. I could do this in 1 year, half a year.
I mean, that's incredible. Most people don't realize that. I haven't realized that until years and years later in my life, that I don't have to accept things the way they are just because someone said that's how it is.
Yes.
To a degree. Anybody who knows me, I follow rules. I like rules.
You were in the military.
I was in the military. I thrive off of rules and structure, but also it's like, what's over here?
Right. You want to peek behind the Iron Curtain.
Yeah. What if we change the rules? What if there's a better way?
Yes. What if there's a better way? Because this way ain't working right now. Yeah. So that was exactly, I said, this allopathic route is obviously, they're not giving us any answers or any hope right now. So I started looking into different schools, different ways to understand what was happening. We must have taken her, I can't even tell you, Chase, how many doctors we took her to. I was flying her all around the country.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Some person would give us a clue. Hey, you should go see this doctor, that doctor. And we were flying her everywhere. So I started to get educated a lot on natural therapies and, alternative routes. This is 14 years ago. So it's so much... It's better now than it was back then. I mean, we didn't even know nobody knew what gluten-free was back then. Yeah. I mean, I was the one pioneering 14 years ago, gluten-free and dairy-free. We'd go to a restaurant and people would just look at me like, you're crazy, lady. Yeah, you're crazy. What is that? Yeah. Why are you asking for that? You're so high maintenance.
Yeah. About 14 years ago is kind of a funny timeline. It's about the same time when my kind of personal journey of there's got to be a better way. Learning more about the human body, human potential, health, wellness. Wellness was very up and coming, at least for me. Yeah. I think the epitome of that meant, it's green. Like everything's like green friendly, green cleaning products and green. Like, what does it even mean?
What does that even mean?
Yeah. It was hard. I really had to go searching high and far and to learn more than what medical doctors were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like you, I was going through my own kind of personal injuries and just transformation of health, and I wasn't happy with what I was getting from my medical providers. It's like, there's got to be a better way, because everything you're doing for me and with me, it's covering certain bases, but it's leaving me unfulfilled and empty-handed in so many other ways that I'm not willing to accept. And that was for you and your daughter. And then through that process, you kind of found really your big next step, right? Going into true integrative medicine.
Yeah. That was the next step, where I just first started out at herb school. Then I just started shadowing doctors. Hey, can I just come shadow you in your clinic? Because I want to know everything about what you do.
Were you sticking with medical doctors or finding?
No, it was more like naturopathic, DO, like different alternative doctors. I just wanted to understand everything that they did. And then I just started going to integrative conferences. Wanted to learn, what are they learning, And through that, this is the most profound thing that happened. I think there's always quantum entanglement happening. And I was in a really difficult marriage, and I had an unconscious belief inside of me that was making me sick too. So my daughter was sick and I was sick as well. And
sounds like a sick house.
Yeah, we were like we were both sick. And one day when I realized that my thoughts were the main thing that were holding me down, it changed everything for me. Because Chase, if you would have come to our house, I juiced kale every day. I was raw vegan. I had the strictest diet you could possibly imagine. People didn't even like to eat with me because
doing all the things.
I was doing all the things, the kelp noodles, the whatever. It was like I wouldn't touch anything if it had, cooked oil or anything in it.
Is that green?
Was even questionable. Yeah. And working out, doing all the things. It's like, there's no way that I should be sick. It was like 25 at this point. There's no way. I do everything. And then when I started taking inventory of my thoughts, I realized that I was waking up anxious every morning. And the story that I was telling myself was that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't loved because I wasn't enough to be loved. And then it kind of took me back to, gosh, I've been working for love my whole life. I had this belief that if I became a doctor or this high-powered venture capitalist, then I'll be enough to be loved. And so I had to take responsibility for my own thoughts. And once I did that, I flipped the script and I started to wake up and just be in gratitude for the first 5 minutes. That was the only thing that I changed.
What did that look like?
Just literally thanking God that I had legs, that I could get up and go to the bathroom, that I had a bed to sleep in, that I had a warm house with shelter over my head, that I could get up and have a cup of tea. And
basic human needs.
Human needs. Thanking God for those things and really feeling it. And that changed everything for me. Because it went from being anxious about my day and having to work, thinking about all the things that I needed to do to work to be good enough and to just, I guess, be enough. And when I flipped it to, I'm so grateful for everything that I have and everything that I am, my physiology began to change.
What do you mean?
My whole body started to shift. All the things that I was doing, the kale salads and the working out and all that stuff, I started to feel it.
Okay.
I started to come alive again. I started to feel alive. I started to be more vibrant, have more energy, be excited. I didn't even realize I was depressed. I think a lot of people that are depressed don't even know they are because we can get so caught in this cycle.
You probably just think it's your norm.
You think it's your norm.
Yeah. You don't have any other comparison point.
Yeah, nothing excited me anymore. I realized that. I was like, oh my gosh, I wake up in the morning, I'm not excited about a good meal. We get excited when there's a good meal, when you have friends over.
I get excited about every meal. Chase love food. Chase love food.
Right? Okay, well, I wasn't excited about meals. Maybe it's because I was just eating raw vegan. But
don't say that too loud here in LA. Somebody's going to throw a rocket through the window.
I know, yeah. But, I realized that I was depressed. And so when I shifted those thoughts, my body started to come alive again. And so that transformation got me so excited that I said, I need to understand all of this and go back to school because I'm a science-minded person and this is kind of woo-woo, these things, but I know there has to be some sort of way to understand this in physics. And then I learned about quantum physics and was like, okay, that's it. Like this is it. And I got so excited. As you can tell from my story, I get very passionate about things I need to know.
This is the moment. This is the moment that so many of us look for and hope that we get. And you clearly are describing it. I've had it when it's your entire reason for living.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh,
this is why I'm here.
It is.
Yes.
Here it is. It's so clear.
And isn't that a gift to really know what that is?
The most amazing gift.
Yeah, it was exciting. So I just started to look for any school that I could find that would teach me about the body and also like from a quantum physics perspective where I could understand quantum physics and the vibrational frequencies of our voice and the things that we speak and the thoughts that we're thinking and how that's imprinting our bodies.
Can you break that down a little bit more for us? Because I don't know quantum physics. I'm sure a lot of people don't get like high level. What do you really mean by that?
Yeah. Yeah. So our thoughts, you can think of them kind of like an antenna. You know,
Okay.
it's sending out a message, a frequency, and that message is imprinting every single cell in our body. And it's something that we don't think about. We don't realize how powerful it is. It's so powerful that it has the power to transmute and change everything in your body, your entire physiology. There's this book that's called The Brain That Changes Itself, and it talks a lot about stories about people that are paralyzed that can walk again. And
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
crazy stories that you would think, oh, that's not even possible. Yeah. But it started out with the person's mind just saying like, okay, I'm just going to move this finger here, and really like paying attention to it and knowing that they could and thinking about it,
laying down that neural pathway, laying down,
yes,
like getting the brain to think, actually, I do need to make this connection happen.
Yeah, that neural plasticity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Building new pathways, because there may be pathways that are blocked, but your brain's always building new pathways. But we have to set the intention of where we want those pathways to go.
You can build even more if you take some lion's mane, if you get good sleep, get good water. That's a whole other rabbit hole.
That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, decreased inflammation.
But what I didn't know, and Bruce Lipton helped me understand this at a much higher level, was that we have this unconscious programming, this subconscious programming that usually our brains are programmed between the ages of from in utero to about 6 or 7. We're like a sponge. We're absorbing everything in our environment.
A passive sponge. We have no control over what we're absorbing. It's just like a vacuum. It's like everything.
Yeah. So if your parents had this scarcity mindset, like we don't have enough money, there's not going to be enough, then you probably have that, right?
My very first conscious memory is almost verbatim what you just said.
Really?
It was me walking into one of the conversations that ultimately led to my parents divorcing, and it was, what are we doing here? We don't have any money, something along that. One of my very first ever memories as a child, like 4-ish. Yeah.
And that shaped you, I'm sure,
Absolutely.
right? It shaped so much of who you are, the way you look at money, the way you think about money.
It took me 30 years to rewrite that whole financial narrative of belief systems around money and what is worth and value. Yeah.
But not only is it affecting, so the way we think, but all of that's affecting our body.
Right, yeah,
our
keep
physiology.
Going there.
Yeah, so this is the part where it gets so exciting because when I finally realized that, I had hope again. I go, I'm not a victim to my health. There's something that I can do about this. So then I wanted to learn more. I went back to get into a PhD program where I could learn more about the thoughts and how they affect us, and these more so these unconscious, subconscious beliefs. And Bruce Lipton's really good at explaining this, about how he says that about 95% of what we do in our thought processes is in our unconscious programming. It's the program that's running us. It's like software, you know, it's like it's already been written. And we're only about 5% in our conscious mind. The creative mind is where we're creating our future, where we're steering
the ship.
Yeah, it's the creative state. It's the state that's changing things, the transformation. And then I'm like, whoa, okay. So I have these unconscious beliefs that they're unconscious because I'm not even aware of them. And they're creating what's happening inside my body, my health. And then that's when we get into epigenetics, where we realize that we're above our genetics. It's not the genetics that we were born with that is the only thing that determines our health. There's so much more. We're above that. The way we think, the thoughts we think, the way we're eating, the things we're drinking, working out, exercising, all those things affect our health. So when I realized that, I thought, okay, I want to understand more about these unconscious beliefs and this programming. And then that's when I started to go and study neural entrainment, because we can entrain our brains and for new programs. We create the new program. But it all comes with intention. It's setting the intention. And that was where, like I told you about, where I flipped the script and started just spending time in gratitude instead of thinking about all these negative things on my list every day. Yeah. But I wasn't aware of that before. It wasn't until I had the awareness that I was able to change it. So I started to think, how can I help other people with this? So now I'm working. We have a wellness clinic in San Diego. It's called the Sanctuary. Yeah.
Amazing name, by the way. Perfect for what I know you provide.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So we do these retreats where it's full mind, body, spirit transformation. You come and you're doing like scalar energy, neural entrainment programs. We're working on your hydration, your nutrition, your minerals, your sunlight, your grounding, all the basics to be well in this modern world. But we don't forget the brain and the entrainment and the thoughts and addressing that. Because it's not just about, like, you can go to a therapist and it's amazing doing traditional therapy, but sometimes we need a little more. Yeah. Because we're not really aware. You can sit there and talk to a therapist about all these things, but they're only getting a portion of the story because that's what you're aware of.
True to you. I mean, this is great, but isn't there more? You know?
There's got to be more, right? But they're not following you around. They're not watching your patterns. They just see you on the couch sitting there telling your story, and that's all they really have to go off of.
In that moment right there, there's no real context.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, let's watch Chase. What does he do? He talks about how he wants to lose weight, but then every night he goes into the refrigerator at 11 o'clock and...
Wait, are you watching me? How do you know this? Are there cameras? Don't go. You're going to see all my pints of ice cream. Don't go.
He's eating like all this ice cream and it's like... I remember one time I was in the kitchen with my mom, and this isn't to throw my mom under the bus, but it's to give an example. She would always talk about how she couldn't lose weight. She's on so many diets. And she really was like struggling and working so hard. And I remember one time we were in the kitchen and she's just like, she eats greens, salted kale, healthy salads. And there was a cookie on the counter and she just like picked it up, put it in her mouth, ate like a big bite of the cookie. And then I was like, Mom, I thought you were, not eating that. And she's like, what? I ate that?
Totally unaware.
She didn't even know she'd eaten it.
Wow, jeez.
But isn't that so many of us, like, maybe not with the food, but so many things that we do? Mm-hmm. My girlfriend today called me out on something where I said, my husband left me. And then she's like, oh, when you say that, you're imprinting that in your cells. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. I don't want to say that anymore because then it makes me feel like I was abandoned and I was left because I'm using that verbiage. I'm saying those words, and that keeps putting that impression, and it's feeding the blueprint of my body, which is the morphogenetic field, which is actually the blueprint of actually my physical body. So, okay, no, I'm not going to say that anymore. I don't want to hurt myself. The things we say are very important. And the words that we say carry a vibrational frequency. So when you're not telling the truth or you're not being authentic, that vibration, that frequency is causing dissonance.
It's like... kind of make an example, if I'm correct, of like when you're consciously lying, you kind of feel it, right?
Yes.
Versus like when you speak the truth.
Yes. It's liberating. Everything opens up in your throat chakra.
It's literally liberating, physiologically, emotionally. Whereas when it's like bullshit, like it's restrictive.
It is hurting you.
Wow.
And the people around you, because now we have dissonance in the field because we're quantumly entangled with others, and so when we're not speaking our truth, we're hurting ourselves and we're hurting others.
That's huge right there. Not only we are doing ourselves a disservice, but the change that we are all here seeking to be a part of and to help implement, like by us not doing these things, by us not finding fulfillment, by us not taking care of our bodies inside and out, physically and mentally, emotionally, that resonates. Yeah. We are doing a disservice to our neighbor. If I didn't take care of myself, you would feel that. You would walk away with some of that and vice versa.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. It's so powerful Once I realized how powerful my words were, I started to realize I need to take responsibility for my words, what I'm saying, what I'm creating in my life, and what it's doing to my body, to my own physical health. Even my daughter with the alopecia, when she was little, saying she's sick, she's sick, she's sick, telling people she's sick and she has this and that, I realized that imprinted her. Now, if I could take that back, I feel so guilty about that.
That's an identity. Like, I'm the sick girl.
She took that on. Yeah. Like, oh, I have that, this alopecia. She went to so many doctors telling her she's sick. That's what she kept hearing. So it affects people in such a dynamic way. The words that we say, now I'm going to take this to the next level. Think about this. Okay. Not only is it causing dissonance in our field, but we are 98.9% water molecules. The molecules in our body are 98.9%
This is where we're getting
of our
to.
water.
I said earlier, remember the foreshadowing? All right, pay attention. Here we go.
Yeah, so
School's in session.
once I realized, like, okay, we're 98.9% water molecules, and water is the source receiver of all information it comes in contact with. What are we imprinting those molecules with? I mean, it gets so deep and so powerful. If I have dissonance in the field and there's dissonance and there isn't harmony. Have you ever looked at Dr. Emoto's work where he took a water droplet?
Water experiment, put all the like, love, hate, war.
Right. And how it imprinted the water.
I'm going to leave that down in the show notes. You guys got to check out this study. It will blow your mind.
And now there's so many scientists that I'm working with and talking to now that are really doing more research and studying this, and it is so dynamic. Get excited about water, because the next 5 years you're going to see some crazy stuff happening,
which is great for you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's like I'm mind blown. I just was at a water summit last week, and I was like mind blown by what's happening in science. But to get back to it, it's like, okay, water is the source receiver of all information it comes in contact with. Let's just give an example of Emoto, because most people know Dr. Emoto's name. When he took the water droplet and put the word hate over it, it wasn't an organized crystalline structure. When he put the word love over it, the crystalline structure became a structure. It became beautiful, crystalline, almost looked like a snowflake. It had organization. It had the geometric perfection to it.
Order versus chaos.
Yep,
in other words.
that's a great way to say it. Order versus chaos. And that's what we're imprinting the molecules in our body with. And our cells have this innate intelligence. They know when we're not living our truth, speaking our truth, when the things that we're saying are not uplifting about ourselves or even others. We have this opportunity to speak life into others. We have this opportunity to speak light for ourselves and for others. So every word, even when you're saying something unkind about someone else or speaking gossip about someone else, it's not just hurting them, it's hurting you. So we can take responsibility for our words and our thoughts. We're going to see our health start to change. Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. We need to be eating well,
Sure.
Drinking good water, doing all those things. But I think for the most part, a lot of people are doing that, especially probably your listeners. Mm-hmm. They're health-minded, health-minded listeners, but maybe they're stuck. There's this piece, this element that's missing, and it's like, what is that? And it seems so simple. It seems so esoteric to me. It was like, oh, yeah, like my words that I'm saying are going to affect me. But it's probably the most powerful thing that there is.
And isn't that wild how some of the most powerful things in our life, when you really get down to it, they're the most simple realizations. Yeah. It's not, I need to go find the world's most incredible nutrition plan or workout plan or, psychiatrist. Those can be amazing in and of themselves, but really the things that just turn the light bulb on finally for us and I can do this. Yeah. This is something simple that I can do and I can keep doing, and it's that positive feedback loop that I can do it, I can keep doing it, and I get the change and I get the life and I get the vitality that I didn't think I could ever have.
Yeah. And isn't that cool to have hope again?
Yeah.
I mean, like when I walked out of the doctor's office, I felt like I didn't have hope that day. But when I realized there was something that I could do about it, I had hope again, and it lit that fire, and I came alive again. So hope is important. People need hope, and if there's any message that I'd like to get across today, it is that if anybody's suffering and they feel like they don't have any hope, there is hope. There's absolutely hope. You are not stuck.
It starts with you thinking about hope.
Yeah, it starts with you. I really think it starts with gratitude, being grateful for where you're at. And sometimes that can be really hard because the situations that people are in are really difficult. And let's give merit to that because there are some very tragic situations that people are going through. But there is always something that we can find to be grateful for, even in the midst of those situations.
Look at Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
I mean, a man who suffered for years and years and years in concentration camps.
Yes.
Wrote one of the most profound books of hope and gratitude. You can never, ever complain again.
Right?
Go back and read A Day in the Life of Viktor Frankl and just what he was able to latch onto and how he was able to find hope and the life he could then go on to leave and then ultimately leave for others through his writings. You can never complain again.
No, I mean, we just listened to this lady came to my daughter's school maybe about a year ago, and she was in the concentration camps during Nazi Germany, and she's, I think, 93, and her name was Rose Schindler, and she was telling us about her story, and just to hear her story, I'm like, oh my gosh, we have it so good, right?
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
But there's always something to be grateful for, and even in her story, she had so many things she was grateful for. Like she got a piece of potato in her soup that was like sand soup one day, and she's just like so grateful for it.
Wow, seriously, I can never complain again. And I mean, to kind of give my personal experience, that absolutely has played an integral role in all the things that I've ever done or continue to do in just optimizing my life, living ever forward. I was miserable for a while when I told you about my injuries in the military, and when I did have to show up, when I wasn't phoning it in or I wasn't in the hospital, I would, get my wheelchair, roll into formation, or get my cane out and hobble over, and it's like miserable. I was 21, 22. It's like, this sucks. Like, but then I would get to formation, and I would be next to these people, these men and women who were head to toe just wrapped in gauze, 3rd-degree burns, their entire body, missing arms, legs, everything. And like I would roll up, and they would be like laughing and joking, and I mean, to a certain degree, good days and bad days for sure, but like it was always just somebody always had it worse than me, but yet they were showing up better than me.
It's humbling.
And I give a lot of credit to coming out the way that I did through that experience, not just completely miserable, in kicking like a narcotic pain medication.
That's huge.
Yeah, seeing like what can happen when you're on that for too long, and realizing that you're actually hooked, but yet the doctor gave it to me. So am I wrong? But I need it. It's a whole other episode for sure. But just gratitude. Yeah. Just to like mirror and echo what you're saying. It's instrumental.
Well, I can totally see that with you, Chase, because the way you handle situations and you carry yourself and the way that you interact with people, you can tell that you're an evolved human, that you have had your crucible story or stories that you've been through, and you chose to rise above. You chose to look at the obstacle in the opportunity in the midst of the obstacle.
I have chosen to choose every day that, for sure. I think that's a very conscious thought I had years ago through my experiences. Thank you for that, by the way. I received that. And then also my whole meaning for what I'm doing here and like why we're here talking is because I chose to take this message, this mantra from a man who withered away and died a horrible death. And I chose to not let that define me. I chose to no longer let that just keep me living in darkness and panic attacks and anxiety and just not accept it.
Yeah.
No, I don't accept this anymore.
I don't accept this. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, and it's not like you haven't had struggle in your life. Severe tragedy, loss, grief, pain, physical suffering. But what was your mental state? What did you choose? Because even you did go down that difficult mental state, but then you chose to take inventory of your thoughts, and you chose to say, no, I'm going to find the opportunity in this obstacle. I'm going to choose to be grateful for what I do have. I'm going to choose to move ever forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And now, like, look at your physical being. You're probably healthier than you've ever been. You're more
Absolutely.
vibrant. You're excited. I mean, we were just at a pool party yesterday, and you're having a great
swimming.
time with your beautiful wife. I mean, it's like you would have never thought that 21-year-old was carrying around a cane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
when I went to school. Actually, when I got out, I had to go and I was enrolling in classes. I had to have my mom help me. Like I was like 22, 23 on a cane walking around campus, and had to have my mom come like assist me to like, yeah. I honestly forget about that stuff. It seems like such a long time ago, like because I have no longer chosen to just accept that as an identity.
Accepting it.
Like it was a teacher, and I moved on.
Yeah.
Like so many other things in our life.
Yes.
And I want to get back, kind of getting towards the end. You have come to the kind of this peak of education, anecdotal experience, and you've continued to just niche down to what lights you up, but also just finding things that most people don't really know about, and that's through your focus and your specificity around hydration and health and wellness. What are some of the principles when it comes to hydration? We've been talking a lot about water and how it's vibrationally affected through words and emotions and energy. What else? What is so key about hydration that maybe we're overlooking in our wellness?
Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother podcast. I'm gonna have to come on to that one. But like we talked about, 98.9% of the molecules in our body are water molecules, and let me explain this because it's very confusing for some people because they think, how can we be 98 like, shouldn't we be a fish tank or something? I mean, just like liquid.
Well, you're not a mermaid?
No, I know. Maybe. But the water molecules are so tiny that everything else, like the bone and all the minerals in our body, they weigh more. So it's, when you look at the percentage of molecules, it's like they're so tiny. That's why. But when it comes to water, we're maybe, I don't know, it depends on each organ and it depends on each person and how old they are, but I'm going to give an average of about 70% water. Okay, so that's and then 98.9% water molecule. But when I'm looking at the percentage of molecules in our body, I think about, okay, water, obviously we can agree that with that percentage, it must be important. So I want to look at every aspect of water and what it is in our body, how it's affecting every system. And so a lot of people think, okay, if you want to get hydrated, I mean, I thought, like, just drink water. When I was an athlete, I thought, okay, if I drink enough water, I'm going to be hydrated. And, when you're really young, that's pretty good. Because when you're a kid...
When you're a noob.
Because when you're a kid, what are you doing? You're running around barefoot. Usually, right? You're grounding. You're getting sunlight. You're out in the sun. You're laughing and playing. You have loving, connected community with your friends, typically. You're eating healthy. You're getting usually minerals and because your body can just absorb so many things. You're usually getting great sleep when you're a kid.
A lot of sleep.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of sleep. You're having creative playtime. All these things. I'm naming off our 9 pillars of health, right? I come up with these 9 pillars of health.
You came prepared. It's amazing.
But when you're a kid, you're just doing all those things, right? So when we become an adult, we forget to play. We forget to take our shoes off and run around on the grass.
Not anymore.
Let's see where we got these. Yeah.
Mine are
my ratchet feet right now. Don't
walk around too barefoot.
But I shouldn't have said ratchet feet. I have beautiful feet. But so all those things we're like under artificial light all day. Like right now we're under this artificial light. We could have been doing this outside now. But it's good to be outside.
It's like subtle dig. Subtle dig.
Outside, grounding, getting minerals. Those things are essential. Movement is essential for getting our tissues hydrated because when you're just drinking water, it goes into your stomach. In order to get it into the tissue, to hydrate all the tissue, we need to be moving. They did some studies on fascia, and they realized they put a camera under living tissue, living fascia, and they saw water droplets on it.
Wow.
So, it's actually there. There's water droplets. When they were working on cadavers, they didn't see that. But when they put it under living tissue, they're like, oh, my gosh, there's water under here. So we have to be moving and, getting all those joints juicy, like playtime, right? Do some acro yoga, jump around, do a cartwheel. Get out barefoot because when we're barefoot, we're through the Earth's magnetism, we're able to activate that hydration, because our bodies are electric. They have an electrical charge.
We're resyncing with
our
the energy source.
Yes, with the natural rhythm, so that our bodies aren't in that dissonant state. We're harmonizing with the earth's natural frequencies.
Beautiful.
And when we're doing that, it's actually charging our cells. You plug your cell phone in at night, you know how to charge your cell phone, but we forget about the cells of our body. That's how we charge the cells of our body. Go barefoot, walk on the beach, walk on, the dirt, walk somewhere barefoot. I love the beach because we live near the beach, and those negative ions, and I mean, we could just go into that, but
I always see your stories is like morning and or evening. It's beach shot, Tracy, grounding.
Yeah, grounding.
Ritual. Absolutely. It's amazing.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It makes me come alive. I feel alive when I do it. Sunlight. Sunlight is one of the most, it's important. Without sun, we would all die, right? But the sun is activating the mitochondria of our cells. And actually in our mitochondria is where we create metabolic water. We're creating our own water, about 1 liter to 1.5 liters of water a day.
Wow.
Through the food that we consume, the hydrogen, and then the breath that we're taking in, the oxygen. The hydrogen and oxygen are like a male and female that just, they need to be together, right? So they come together, create water. We're creating water in the mitochondria of our cell.
These bodies are so cool.
They're so cool, right? But we need sunlight to do that. So if you look at my 9 pillars of health, you could go to my website or listen to the Hydrate podcast, and you'll learn more. We just go through all these pillars, help us understand how to make those practical, how to live that life so that we can optimize our health, so that we can become optimally hydrated, because it's not just about drinking water. It is about all those things to activate and to make the water work for us.
I know that we could do a whole mini series, like 9-episode mini series on all of those pillars. And ever since, meeting you and coming across your content a couple months ago, it's one of those great moments where I was like, I think I know health. And then you find someone who, like, sit down, Chase, just be quiet. And just so many little areas to this human experience, this human optimization that we think we have dialed in. And you may very well have them dialed in, but there's always something more.
Yeah.
And the same things you're doing now, they may work for a period of time, and then they need to go up in one season of their life, come down in another. So I mean, your content, your work has been very eye-opening and educational for me. So it's been a gift. Thank you.
That means
Seriously.
so much.
Absolutely.
It's like, that was what I started out with, is I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
I don't like to see people sick. I can't stand it. So if the work that I'm doing and putting out is helping people become healthier, then that makes me so excited to wake up in the morning.
Amazing. Well, definitely going to have all your information, the show, the website, all of your content down in the show notes and video for everybody. But before we go, my last question for you is, kind of sharing our stories here. I always like to get my guest's interpretation of why I'm here and my story. Those 2 words, ever forward. What does that mean to you? How do you live a life ever forward?
Ever forward. Well, like we talked about today, I'm not accepting this. This is not acceptable. I'm going to move forward and choose the life that I want to live.
She got hyped for that one. That was good.
1 foot in front of the other, baby.
One barefoot foot.
Yeah, that's right. Barefoot foot in front of the other.
One barefoot
Unless
foot.
there's dog poop, then I might have to put shoes on.
Well, Tracy, thank you so much. It's been great having you on. Any final words for the listener before we sign off?
If you want to learn more, you can follow my podcast, the Hydrate podcast, and Chase, you're producing my podcast, so that's pretty awesome.
Me and a lot of cool people, a lot of good people.
Yeah.
We're building the ultimate wellness podcast empire.
Absolutely. Yes.
We're finding all the facets that this helps people, this helps people, this helps people. We need to put it all together. The people, they need to know, Tracy. They need to know, okay?
They need to know. Yes. They need to know. There's so much information out there, and we don't want to sell stories. We want to sell science. People need to know the truth. So yeah, they can go to the Hydrate podcast. I think it's Hydrate with Tracy Duhs, or follow me on Instagram. I'm really active there. I love to post stories about little tips, things that people can do. You'll learn things like about deuterium depleted water and all kinds of fun stuff.
All the things.
But yeah, it's at Tracy Duhs, TracyDuhs. Awesome.
Well, I'm going to do my sign off now. Welcome everybody. Well, what do you mean welcome? This is the end, Chase. It's my first time ever doing a podcast. I just want to say thank you for tuning in, for watching, for listening. This has been an incredible conversation with a new friend, a new wellness expert. If I brought any value to your life in terms of fitness, nutrition, mindset, human optimization, trust me, you're going to get even more value from Tracy. So just find a new way to make your life better, choose to make your life better, and ever forward. Thank you.